The summer curse could be coming for Donald Trump, and how he handles it will tell us a lot about his second term. In recent years, many political observers and theorists have started to refer to something called the summer curse. It's this theory that some of the worst events for a president, scandals, PR disasters, public backlash, tend to happen in the summer. It's sometimes a half-joking or ironic theory, kind of like astrology for political nerds. But it kind of points to a broader truth about the presidency, how unpredictable and difficult a term can be, and why some presidents ultimately just fail. Also, when you look at history, there's not no truth to this summer thing. Now, we could go way back on all of this. For LBJ, the opening of the Vietnam War, which ultimately ended his presidency, happened in the summer. Richard Nixon's resignation happened in the summer. 5 of the 8 presidents who have died in office did so during the summer. But this is much more of a modern phenomenon. So let's go through them real quick. Bill Clinton. Right out of the gate, Bill Clinton's first summer in the White House in 1993 was a mess. That's when a controversy known as Travelgate exploded. A complicated, tangled swirl of stuff that's honestly a little hard to explain nowadays. But it culminated in the suicide of Vince Foster, a close friend and aide to the Clintons. To this day, that suicide is the subject of a ton of conspiracy theories. Again, it's hard to explain, feel free to Wikipedia, but the top line is that controversy, scandal, whatever you want to call it, set the tone for a lot of Clinton's other summers. A year later, in the summer of 1994, Ken Starr was picked as the new special counsel handling an investigation into Clinton, and he took the investigation in new and aggressive directions. That ultimately led him to focus on, can you guess? Clinton's relationship with a White House intern named Monica Lewinsky, which all came to a head in the summer of 1998, when Clinton testified to a grand jury and then came clean to the nation.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Ms. Lewinsky that was not appropriate.
George Bush. Bush is a great example of this summer curse theory. Some of the most famous events of his presidency, the September 11th attacks and the Wall Street crash, both happened in the final days of summer, in 2001 and 2008. But so did a bunch of the smaller things that helped tank his presidency. For example, a major ethics scandal, the Plame affair, hit in summer 2003. Summer 2004 saw public opinion turning on the Iraq War, with a majority opposing it for the first time. Summer 2005 is when that war became supermajority unpopular and never turned back. And summer 2006 is when big ethics scandals hit the White House and Republican Congress, which both helped Democrats win the midterms that year. But most of all, one of the most defining moments of Bush's presidency came in summer 2005. Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans in August and basically extinguished Bush's popularity. After that, his presidency came to a standstill, and the country disliked him until he left office. But Barack Obama actually might be the best example of all of them. Dude could basically not catch a break during his summers, so let's go through them rapid fire. 2009, the Tea Party protests against his presidency and healthcare reform proposals explode, setting the stage for years of gridlock and political struggles. 2010, all 4 summer months posted job losses, which was not supposed to happen after the recession and showed just how hard the economic recovery would be. There was also the Deepwater Horizon spill, the biggest oil spill in US history, and fairly or unfairly, Obama got blamed by a lot of people for that. 2011 saw a historic debt crisis and the first ever downgrade of the US credit system. 2013 had the death of Obama's immigration proposal and a really embarrassing defeat for him on Syria policy. And 2014 saw the rise of ISIS and the rise of Ebola in West Africa. Told ya, Obama was not a lucky summer guy. Now, for Donald Trump, his first summer in office saw the spectacular collapse of his effort to repeal Obamacare, a huge and embarrassing setback for his agenda. The next summer was consumed by the crisis over Trump's family separation policy, which became so controversial and unpopular that Trump did a rare thing for Trump and retreated. Also that summer, Trump met with Vladimir Putin at a summit in Finland and basically sided with him on a bunch of high-profile issues, including election interference. That led to some of the most bipartisan criticism during his first presidency. Summer 2019 was also when Trump spoke over the phone with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. That call later became the basis for his first impeachment. And summer 2020 was a mess. The largest protests in US history, COVID rampaging throughout the country, and Trump trying to hold a big comeback rally in Oklahoma, but it totally flopping. For Joe Biden, the beginning of the end and the end of his presidency both came in the summer. Going into summer 2021, his first in office, Biden had had a really positive first few months, to the point that it was actually a point of speculation. Could he defy the curse? And then that summer happened. After months of declining COVID cases, after all of us being told that getting the vaccine would end the pandemic and return to normal life, the Delta variant exploded, ruining a key Biden promise that he was going to definitively end the virus and return us to normal life. Then that same summer, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan happened. Soldiers died, the government collapsed. It was a huge embarrassment. That double whammy basically ruined Biden's reputation for competence and stability, and he never got it back. Fast forward to summer 2024. First, he had his disastrous debate with Trump.
We finally beat Medicare.
Then he got COVID. Then he made the unprecedented decision to basically admit defeat and drop out of the presidential race. So, curse, coincidence, bad luck? There's a case to be made here that this really is just coincidence. Some of the best times for some of these presidents actually came during the summer. For example, summer 2015 was arguably kind of the peak of Obama's presidency. The Supreme Court had legalized same-sex marriage, his eulogy at a mass shooting memorial went super viral and was heavily praised, he reached a nuclear deal with Iran, his approval rating was steadily rising. It was a really good time for him. So again, this is just kind of a funny way to think about presidencies as much as anything. But there is a real kernel of truth here. Any one of us who spends time writing in a journal or tracking self-improvement know that the summer is the halfway mark of the year. It's a time when a lot of us have thoughts of, am I reading enough books? Am I sticking to my New Year's resolutions? Oh God, I went into the summer break in May and I came out in September. Oh God, the year's almost over. Oh my God, you know the vibes. And in a way, that is what this idea of a summer curse gets at. It's when the rubber meets the road for presidencies. When the idealism and the momentum of their first couple months in office hits the hard realities of governance. And most of the time, those hard realities are a lot more unpredictable, a lot harder, and a lot less fun than what came before. So, is there some curse awaiting Donald Trump? Not literally, no. But like every president before him, he will have to face the day that those trade-offs arrive. For Trump, that could mean an immigration and deportation policy way different than what he imagined, or a war in the Middle East that could scramble his foreign policy plans, or, the thing I'm watching most of all, a tax bill that undercuts some of his most central promises to the electorate. How presidents deal with those things matters a lot. And that is what makes or breaks a presidency.